Welcome back or welcome to, whichever applies. If you're new here, I basically watch a movie and I sit down in this chair and I ramble off the top of my head about it immediately after watching it. Well, there's some notes, but there's no script, there's no jump cuts, nothing like that. I want it to be raw and unfiltered, for better or for worse. A lot of the times for the worse, but you know what? It's natural, so we're gonna go for it. And we use the first take, so that's, double fun. What are we watching today? We're watching The Alphabet Killer, which is, if you have seen some of my previous episodes or videos or whatever you want to call them, whatever, you'll know that I am a defender of Eliza Dushku. That said, I'm not a defender of her movies, so I'm kind of on a personal quest to find a movie other than Wrong Turn with her in it that I can say that I genuinely think was pretty decent. Will this be one of those films? Well, stay tuned to the end. I will give you a non-story or this particular movie spoiler and tell you that it is better than Soul Survivors. So take that for what it's worth. It's not worth much because that's not hard to do. Anyway, spoiler alert, you know the drill. I'm going to be talking about the movie, things that happen in the movie, yada yada yada, different plot points, and the ending. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you can skip ahead on a little timestamp to the part that says thoughts. If for whatever reason I mention spoiler in the thoughts, I'll put in brackets spoiler so you're not wasting your time and you can just exit the video. Or you can do that anyway and I wouldn't really blame you. Oh boy. Anyway, let us begin. So, we have a child murder. That's the very first thing. We see a car pick up a kid and then a car chasing a kid down a highway and the murderer finding the kid, and then it cuts out to the body on the crime scene. And we're introduced to our heroine of the film, Megan, which is played by Eliza Dushku, and her partner of two varieties, Kenneth. So he's both her partner in the field and partner in the sheets. Wow, that's really ridiculous. Lover and work co-worker thing. So I assume they signed something with HR because that could be an issue. One moment. Tea is delightful. Anyway, so they find the body and they're examining it. And as she's looking at the body, the eyes open, and she's like, "What?" And then she looks back, and no, they didn't. They're closed. So what the fuck? Okay, whatever. She's probably tired. Whatever. You're a cop in the field. You're probably working overtime hours all the time. It's not a huge deal. Anyway, they find some cat hair on the body, and they find undergarments in a tree. So basically, this young girl was violated in more than just a violent way and then murdered. So that's a way to start a movie with something a little deep like that. I don't know if that was what happened with the actual Alphabet Killer, because this is based on a true story, apparently. Very loosely based, and you'll know why in a second. So that happens, and that's fun. Well, it's not fun at all, but anyway, 3 months pass, and there's a little debate going on in the precinct between the officers of like, is this a serial killer, or is this just like a transient wandering through town who did some unspeakable act that, it's just a one-off? Megan is convinced that there's more to it because the child's name is Carla Castillo, and they found her in Churchville. Okay, that's interesting. So you got CCC, right? Okay, but there's only one murder. So it could very well be coincidence, could it not? That's the argument. Anyway, regardless, she has at her home like a little war room set up with all like, there's like that meme with Charlie from Always Sunny, and he's like pointing and there's pictures and strings and shit. I don't think there's strings, but she's got like pictures everywhere and stuff. It's like the bulletin board, whatever. I don't have to go into detail about that. It's hardly important. Anyway, she's got that going on. She's like involved in this case, like heavily. So she says basically to her captain at the time, like, at least let me and Kenneth go talk to the witnesses or the family one more time, Captain's like, all right, whatever, sure, go. So she does. They go talk to the dad and ask him for any kind of info that he could possibly give. They find out that he sees her like once a week or something, or whatever it is, and they notice in a picture that she's wearing a little necklace, so Megan asks, like, hey, where did she get that? We never recovered it from the crime scene or whatever. And the dad's like, oh, I don't know. That was given to her by her grandma. She's like, oh, okay. Interesting. Why didn't we recover it? And, well, she doesn't flat out ask why didn't we recover it, but he's like, you know, she might have lost it. Like, it's a thing that happens. It's a kid, right? Like, you're not gonna, can't expect miracles from a child. Anyway, they go and talk to the mom next, and she decides to go check out the kid's room and whatnot. And mother agrees, and she goes into the room, and I guess the mom's talking to Kenneth downstairs still while Megan's snooping around, and she looks under the bed and she sees these two little figurines against the wall, and she's like, that's interesting. And she pushes one, and there's like a cross, like a white cross painted onto like the floorboard, not the floorboard, what is it, the baseboards. There you go. So she goes to touch it, and as she touches it, a hand reaches down, and it's like a ghost hand. There you go. So here's our first true ghost happening here. So that's delightful. She obviously lets out a little eep, and the mom's like, you should leave. This is, you know, it's too much already. Anyway. Needless to say, in addition to all this stuff, she's tired. She's been working on this for 3 months at this point, right? So she goes home, and she's just has a little bit of a cry to herself, and she's like talking into the void, like, I'm sorry, Carla, I can't find him, I'm trying. But it turns out she actually is talking to Carla, because boom, there's Carla's ghost right there, and not like attacking or saying anything, but there, just present. Cool. So obviously she's like, what the fuck? And she's not sleeping, and it's just getting to the point where I guess she can't deal with it anymore. So she decides to inflict harm upon herself by means of knife and wrist. That's the most gentle way I can refer to that. Anyway, she's left a little note for her fiance, and he comes home and sees it, and he's like, oh my god, and runs upstairs, and lo and behold, saves her, and she wakes up in the hospital or whatever, or she's in the hospital, I should say, sorry. And the doctor's talking to him, and explaining that, yeah, your fiance basically has schizophrenia. And he's like, what? So, I forgot to mention too, she's been taken off the case at this point as well, because she's working too hard. And apparently other officers have heard her like talking to herself or something like that. So now the schizophrenia reveal is like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You know, you saw the eyes open, that's your mind playing tricks on you. The hand grabbed you, that's like, okay, you saw a ghost, okay, that's schizophrenia, it's messed up. But that explains it, either way. Now, I think what the movie tries to do throughout the film is, I think it makes you want to wonder if it is the schizophrenia or if she is seeing ghosts, but I don't think it does that in a phenomenal way. Like, I'm convinced that it's like her head messing with her pretty much for the whole film and not actual ghosts. Which is both okay and unfortunate, because I like supernatural stuff, but I also like realistic stuff like this. And it also gives our character a major flaw. So, you know, you don't just have like a perfect cop running around solving the crime like that. Anyway, regardless, she stays in the hospital, or I don't know what the case is, but like it flashes 2 years later, so we've got a major ass jump cut to her in like a group circle therapy session thing, basically, where her and a bunch of other people that I guess are struggling with schizophrenia or, you know, mental disorders get together and talk about their things and all that. And she's met a friend there by the name of Richard, who they become pretty tight. They're not like romantically involved or anything, but they're good friends. Kenneth has left her, by the way, at this point, so I guess he's not willing to deal with that. Fair, I suppose, but, you know, it is what it is, right? You gotta move on, I suppose. Anyway. She's lost her career, too, for the most part. So she's not an active cop anymore. She's got her job back in, like, the records department, because apparently the union would cause a big stink. Did I already say this? I don't even remember. But anyway, she got her job back, sort of. She still works at the precinct, but she's not an active field officer. Cool. Then we get news of another victim by the name of Wendy Walsh, and her body was discovered in Webster. So now the whole alphabet thing is kind of clicking a little bit. So she goes to Kenneth, who is now the captain of that precinct. She's like, dude, you like have to let me go back on this case. And he's like, I don't fucking think so. You remember what happened last time? Nervous breakdown. She's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I need to solve this case. Reluctantly, he finally sort of agrees. He says, okay, this is what I'm going to do with you. I'm going to pair you with an officer. You will act as a consultant only. You do not talk to witnesses or family members or anyone. You do not have an active firearm. You're strictly there in a consultory format. I don't know how to say it. She's like, okay, that's something. And to be fair, he didn't even have to do that. Like, that's putting his job on the line right there, right? So we meet her partner, who, if you're Canadian, you might get a laugh because his name is Stephen Harper. So that's funny. So our former prime minister, like him or hate him, is her new partner. Cool. Anyway, they go out and they decide, okay, well, let's go talk to the people again, I guess. I don't know. They get like a word of, they talk to the parents of Wendy, who are, they give about as much information as grieving parents can. Nothing major that like sparks or triggers like a connection or anything to the two, except the names and the letters. Wow, my English is fantastic, is it not? Anyway, they talked to like a homeless guy too, who said he saw the blue car. So now they know it's a blue car. That's great. That's one extra little fact. Anyway, they go to the school to talk to this guy who they're suspicious of. He's like the only connection to the two girls, because he worked at like the school that they were both at or something like that. I can't remember the exact connection. Anyway, they go harass him at the school, and he's a little bit weird, but he's clearly not like the killer. So they're like, okay, well, we had to take a look. Anyway, let's skip ahead for a little bit because we get a third victim by the name of, what was her name? Melissa Maestro, and I don't know what town she's in either. So it starts with an M though. So it is there's 3 now. So absolutely, it's a serial killer, like guaranteed now. So she has a little call with Richard and kind of fills him in on this. He's like her support buddy, and she's like, So the weird thing is with her schizophrenia and her visions, they seem to help her mind lock in on pieces of evidence. So he, I guess, kind of is like, yeah, you should stay on your meds. She's like, I can't, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, well then if you're not taking your meds, you better find him fast, which, sound advice. Oh boy. Sorry, this is kind of all over the place, but the flow of the movie isn't perfect, I will say that much. Better than the flow of my explaining it, however. So whatever, they go find this guy, and they get she hears on the police radio from her home that there's a hostage situation, and it's involving someone by the name of like Elizabeth something, but her like last name starts with an E as well. And so she's like, holy shit, okay, I gotta go down. So she goes down to the crime scene, and she's like, what's going on? There's a hostage situation. Apparently the man attempted to sexually assault the girl, which has been a trait of all of these murders as well, unfortunately. Murder's not bad enough, obviously, right? So whatever. Anyway, that's the case. But she managed to escape and locked herself in the bathroom and dialed 911, and now there's a hostage situation. So Megan's like, okay, I'm on it. And she runs into the house as everyone's like, what do? You can't go in there. Anyway, she goes in there regardless. She calls up to the stairs like, dude, I'm a police officer. I'm unarmed. I just want to talk. He tells her to fuck off, obviously, because that's like, go away, man. Anyway, she ends up convincing him to let her talk, and she goes upstairs and she sees the mother and the girl on a bed, like in fear, with this guy has a gun, and he's freaking out. And the girl's like, he tried to rape me, basically. And the guy's like, oh. And Megan's like, okay, well, in her mind, she's like, I have to de-escalate this. We're gonna deal with him after, but let's calm the situation down. So he says, listen, I know you're freaking out, but let's just talk. He's like, no, first of all, based on everything here, all those officers out there think that I'm this serial killer. And through like the conversation between him and Megan, it's pretty clear that he's not the killer. Like, their mistaken identity on that. Maybe they're so eager to close the case that they just want to find someone to match and call it a day. Anyway, he's not, so she ends up talking him down, though. He puts the gun on the TV and everything, and she says, okay, Elizabeth, you can leave now. Like, the situation's under control. And the guy's, like, he drinks a lot, apparently, and when he drinks, he acts out or some stupid thing. That's not an excuse for, like, assaulting someone, but anyway, whatever. And he goes to the window, and the cops shoot him dead. So, there you go, he's dead. They call it a day. They say, we killed the alphabet killer, blah, 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 blah. We're, you know, everything's groovy. We're good. They make an announcement to the news and everything. There's a whole thing with Megan going to the Webster PD to talk to the captain there, and because apparently they found, like, the cat hair on the victim or on the person that they shot, whatever. But she, in her infinite wisdom, decides to break into the crime scene to scope it out, found cat hair on one single chair, and then she decides to go to the Webster Police Department to talk to their captain, since they're, you know, joint on the case, right? Her and them in Rochester or whatever. And she's like, the cat hair, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, whatever. Yeah, we found the cat hair. And she's like, it was only on one chair. And he's like, right away, okay, so you're telling me you broke into the crime scene. And she accuses him essentially of planting evidence. That goes about as well as you can imagine it goes, because he kicks her the hell out. That's fantastic. Did he plant the evidence? At this point, we don't know. Later, we learn some things that make me think, no, he absolutely didn't plant the evidence. Someone else may have. Anyway, we'll get into that when we get into it. Good times. So where does that leave us now? So she finds another lead that ends up pointing towards a church, or like a parish, or whatever you want to call it. So she goes and visits this church, and she sees a priest talking to a little girl, and right away that gives red flags, right? Obviously. And she approaches the priest and like, we need to talk, and the priest sends the girl away, and they go into like his office area or whatever, and she's asking questions about, you know, the victims that went to this church and whatnot. And she sees pictures of them on the wall, and he's like, do you pray for our angels? And she's like, well, yeah, like, of course, like, you know, it's a tragedy, kids. And then he walks over to another wall, and there's like a shelf with like the 3 deceased like victim girls and like little lights, and she kind of has like an epiphany that I don't quite understand, but she right away thinks that something's a little fucky. Like, what the hell is this? And he's like, do you not, like, it's a anyway, she has like a panic attack, and she's ghosts again. She's seeing ghosts like every like other day or here, whatever. Anyway, she wanders out, and she has her gun drawn, and the priest's like, whoa, what the fuck? She's in the main, I don't know what you'd call the main church area with the pews and everything, but she's in there, and she like shoots the ground or something and collapses crying, and anyway. Needless to say, what happened after that? Oh yeah, the cops go and arrest her, because basically, well, she B&E'd, first of all, and I don't know if maybe she told the captain or something where she was. Anyway, the cops go and they pick her up and they arrest her. So that's great. She wakes up in a hospital bed, and there's the doctor that was treating her the first time, and she's like, I need to talk to the captain. He says, he'll be back. She says, that's not good enough. Doctor tries to say, listen, like, it's not a good idea to leave. She's like, do you have a court order demanding that you keep me here? And he's like, yes, actually I do, as a matter of fact. But regardless, we all want you to get better. Like, we're here to try to help you. Anyway, she isn't too into that, because she breaks an orderly's arm and then threatens the doctor and says, if you follow me, you will get the same. So, cool. Anyway, she's on the run now, obviously, because, well, clearly. Apparently there are, you know, cars staked out at her house, so she goes to Richards and stays with him. It's like her one friend, essentially, now. And he's like, okay, that's fine. Like, you can stay here as long as you want. I'm not going to tell anyone. Don't stress. There's a couch there. Just take a nap, and we'll talk about everything. We'll figure this out, okay? She's like, okay, thank God. She goes and has a nap. She's awoken by a white cat meowing. what is it we found on all the white cat fur? Okay, that's kind of creepy. So she decides, okay, and she calls out Richard. Richard, no answer. So she decides, all right, I'm going to snoop in his room. And in his room, she finds like a yearbook from that St. Michael's Church or whatever. I forgot to mention, when she was in there, there were like a bunch of books, and like 1 or 2 years books were missing. So it went like 95 and then like 97 or whatever. I don't remember the exact years. Anyway, he's in these books. That's not great. And I think some of the victims are in the books too. So it must have been like a recent year or something. I can't remember the exact year, but whatever. Anyway, it's all coming together. And he's like, what are you doing? He's in a wheelchair, by the way. So how is he the killer? Well, he's not actually paralyzed, as we find out. He says, what are you doing in my room? What are you looking for? And she's like, why didn't you tell me that you knew the victims? And he's like, because then you'd know I killed them. What a twist. Anyway, that happens. And he decides to... It's a miracle he can suddenly walk, right? Great. So they have a little scuffle. He knocks her out, and she comes to as he's like dragging her by her feet through like the parkade to his vehicle. He's gonna throw her in the back. She's tied up, etc. And he's going on about like, he gives her the kindness that he possibly can by saying, "Listen, I love you, but you're not my type," meaning that he's not going to assault her, which is, in that way. It's the little things, I guess. Still gonna kill her, so that's wonderful. Drags her into the car, and as they're driving, she sees like the very same necklace that was missing from the very first girl that they didn't recover from the scene. So it's in the backseat of the car, kind of wedged, and she grabs it, and he pulls up to like a riverbank, and she ends up cutting herself loose, and they have a little scuffle, and she gets away enough to like run out of sight as he's firing his gun. He can't get his gun out in time or whatever. Anyway, regardless, he comes looking for her, and she's hiding in a van or something, and kicks the door and knocks him down and all that jazz. And she's trying to get the gun from him, and they're struggling, and she ends up shooting him in the foot, and he's like, fuck. Anyway, knocks her away and then rolls into the river before she can pull her gun out and shoot him, and there's no sign of him. Shit, okay. There was a little touching moment I forgot to add where he's like, Megan, it's a real shame because like you're legitimately my only friend, and it is going to suck to have to kill you. So I was like, okay, that's delightful. Anyway, she's freaking out because he was right there and she lost him, and she has like a panic attack. More kids are running. She has her gun out, and everyone's like, it's a pretty secluded area, but there's like 3 kids in the area or something, or I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's like under like an industrial area, like a bridge. There's mud. It's kind of shitty looking. I don't know. Anyway, that happens, and she didn't get to double tap, so that's fun. We cut to a hospital after this breakdown where the former fiance is there talking. He's like, can I talk to her? And they say basically, she had such a bad breakdown that she is sedated out the wazoo. I don't know what they actually said. It wasn't that. That's ridiculous. But anyway, she's basically strapped down in like the quiet room. Somewhat, not like, I don't want to, is it paralyzed? Not paralyzed. It's like just unable to move and think and strike out. Sedated. There we go. Wow. Paralyzed. Okay. Anyway, then we cut to her in the room, and we see her surrounded by all these like ghost victims, and she has a little inner monologue of like, the second I'm able to get out of here, I will find him for you guys and I will kill him. Then we get a little cut to the same church, that St. Michael's or whatever it was, and they're giving out communions, and then we cut and we see Richard eyeing his next victim, some sweet little girl in the pew beside him. It's like, okay, that's nice. And then we get a little end credit thing that says that the firefighter's body was exhumed. The firefighter, by the way, was the guy that had the hostage situation there and was killed, so he was like a firefighter. And they say he was cleared of all charges, basically, so he was not the killer, and that the alphabet killer was never found. And then we get the credits. So that was the film. What did I think? Eliza, do you have one here that is somewhat redeemable again? Or do you have another stinker like Soul Survivors? And honestly, this one, how it started out, I right away thought, oh man, come on. No, this is going to be awful. But it did get better. It did get better. After like the 2-year jump, it started to get better again. So that being said, what worked for me, what didn't? Let's figure this out. So a lot of people have been saying that the acting is atrocious. And then there are other people saying the acting is phenomenal. I'm kind of in the middle. The acting is passable. Eliza's is pretty decent. And we've got Mr. Ironside in the film. I don't know if I mentioned that, but he was the Webster captain. And so, I mean, he's obviously good. I didn't really have an issue with any of the acting. It never really took me out of the film as like, oh, this guy is like hamming it up bad. I mean, some of the freak out scenes, I guess, with Megan, you could say are a little bit like, but I've never had like a schizophrenic breakdown, so I don't know. They were passable for me. I had no issues with that. One thing I did like, I will give a positive, is I like the way that they showed the ghosts. They were kind of like, I don't know, like shimmery but gray, but like not completely transparent. It was a neat way to do it. I thought it was cool, so that was fun. The twist that I won't go into detail, but I mentioned in the spoiler part, is one that shortly before it was revealed, I was like, oh, okay, that's probably what it is. No, it can't be that. That's too simple, right? And then it was that. So, I mean, it didn't really make sense for it to be what it was, but it's just kind of like, okay, sure, why not? Oh, I forgot to mention something in the spoiler part, but it doesn't matter. Should I say it now? No, I won't. I will stay true to my no spoiler part. It's not critical anyway. Either way, I don't think there was really too much wrong with it except for the flow. So again, at the very beginning, the flow is a little bit hectic and choppy, and it kind of like rushed to get you into the vibe of the film right away. Like, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what's happening. Now you're set up for the rest of the movie. So, I mean, they could have eased into that stuff a little bit more, you know, everything that's... But it wasn't awful. I mean, it wasn't great either, though. Like, I don't know, I don't want to just say, oh, it was okay. Because, I mean, that's such an easy thing to say. So I'm going to say it's better than it was bad. If that makes sense. The flow, that is. The score was kind of alright. They had some neat musical stings that were kind of fun. They fit. I liked them. I was vibing with that. Nothing super crazy that you're going to be humming to yourself 6 days later, but it fit the film, the music that they included in it, which was kind of neat. Even there was one song with kind of like a beat to it that you would think wouldn't work, but it kind of did work, so that was fun. Was the ending satisfying? I didn't hate it. You know, it's okay. It's like it is what it is, and it's fine. Again, I can't really say much because I just, you know, this is the non-spoiler section, but the ending is, I could see how it would divide people, though. People might watch it and be like, come on. And others would be like, okay, that's pretty good. And I'm just like, yeah, that's all right. It sounds like I'm hating on this film a lot, though. And despite the synopsis that I gave, making it sound not great, it was better than I anticipated. A lot better than I anticipated. Again, it's not like phenomenal. I don't think it's suddenly Eliza's best movie. But it's I would lean more to the people who said it was good than the people that said it was bad. So whatever. What does that mean? You're probably asking. Like, get to the fucking point, right? Okay, well, let's get to the point. Let's drop a rating. I'm gonna give this, The Alphabet Killer, a 6.44. Yeah, legit, that feels okay, because you know what? Once you got past the bumpy start, it flowed a lot better. I enjoyed the aspect of this character's major fault, which again could be a spoiler, so I'm not going to go into what it was, but it's very obvious. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about once you watch it. Anyway, That was a neat angle that you don't see in these kind of movies very often. It was not. It was no Silence of the Lambs. Let's be real. It was not that. It wasn't, Seven. It was not quite that caliber, but I still think it was actually pretty decent, which is a pleasant surprise. So now, right now, in my mind, for Eliza Dushku movies that I think are decent are Wrong Turn and The Alphabet Killer. Ones that I think are not so good, Soul Survivors was fucking awful, and Open Graves, I think it was just shy of passable. So not like a sin, but it was not great. This one, however, was actually not too bad. Wrong Turn is better, but but this wasn't bad. So take that for what it is. I've rambled way too long about this film, so we're just going to leave it there. And eventually we'll check out some more Eliza films down the road and see if we can break that tiebreaker. Because like I said, we got 2 decent, 2 garbage. I almost gave the finger to you guys. That's a good time to edit, and not edit, but cut it. Wow, I'm tired, man. I'm going to go to bed. All right, see you next time. Bye.